Quiet on the set. Can we please have quiet on the set?
Hello and welcome to the Far From Normal Radio Show with your hosts, Jay Moss, Bud Vino, and Jesse Weiner. Well, hello once again, and welcome to the Far From Normal Radio Show on the Future of Our Children's Radio Network. And I am joined tonight, well, it looks like we're live on video also tonight with my co-host here, Bud Vino. Bud, how are you doing this evening?
Yo, and yo, J Money Moss. It's September 26, 2017. Tuesday again, the most exciting part of the week, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We're here. We're ready. And our cohort, our partner in crime, the one that makes it all click and come together, Jesse Weiner, looking good tonight, live.
Awesome, Jesse.
Hey, guys. Definitely a different, approach tonight, but I think it's going to be great, and look forward to a great show. Hey to all of our listeners. The week always goes by so fast, so thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, we are coming live in video, 3D, in your home, in your living room. So we are excited tonight to do this for the very first time. We have all three of us on live. So we're going to see how this works. Hopefully you love it. Also, we got a few messages this morning. Well, what was it, yesterday? I think it was yesterday, wasn't it?
Jay, I got to thank everybody out there. We've been inundated, and Jesse was mentioning it before the show and right before we came on. And I got to thank all the listeners out there. I mean, the last show was great. It's just getting better and better. And the guests we've had and just everything, the people that work for the show and work so hard, Brendan Johnson, Pete McNeil, and obviously Ted Fogg, our technical director, advisor, all that great stuff. He makes it all come together. So say hello to Ted.
Absolutely.
We love Ted. Thank you to Ted. And it's exciting, man, the direction the show's going. There he is, Ted.
Absolutely.
And we have some great guests lined up tonight, Jay, and let's rock and roll, baby. I was bowling.
Absolutely, and I was just going to play a few clips here because obviously before we get rolling here, I think it's kind of very, very funny that we got a few clips from Mason Man out there, your son. Amazing stuff.
That's nice.
Yeah. And I think he has something to say about you, too. I don't know what it is here.
Let's hear it.
I think my dad's gone crazy.
That's my boy.
Yes, absolutely.
Littlest bestest buddy. Yeah, I think he's onto something there. But I don't know about the gone part. When? Long time ago, before he was boy. But no, that's great. Yeah, he's my littlest bestest. And my biggest bestest Carter. Hopefully I'll be seeing this weekend. It's great. Much love to everybody out there. That was great, Jay. You're awesome.
Oh, we absolutely. I got a few clips there, and I'll play them throughout the show because they were just absolutely awesome. Yeah, but
Jay,
they were great.
I know you and Mason were going back and forth a little bit, right, Jay? So that was good. I know that too. So you guys have that thing. Yeah, Mason's awesome. He's just a real cool. Both my boys. I'm blessed.
Yes, absolutely. And so I'm going to roll into things here. We're going to get right into the events, and then we're going to get right into our first guest here. Because it's very important. We're kind of short on time, it seems like, every week, so we want to get right to it. Okay, so the calendar of events right now, I have one event out there. If you have other events that you would like us to announce live on the radio, please go ahead and send us a line at the Far From Normal Radio Show at Facebook, and we would be happy to announce those on the air as long as they fit within the movement of what we're talking about here of parental equality. We would be happy to read those live on the air. So the first one that we have, obviously, is November the 5th, the Share Parenting event at the State House Inn at 7 p.m. I believe that is a Sunday night, which is a little weird, but, you know, it is what it is, and sometimes you have to do those things on a Sunday night because of, obviously, the money and the time constraints and those kind of things. So, but awesome stuff. They're going to have some great speakers there. It's tag teamed up with Dads Can Too, Illinois Fathers, the Equality, for Equality, and Americans for Equality, Shared Parenting, and more. So should be a great big event. And it looks like right now we have Chad Laddermilk and Corey Ray from Illinois Fathers for Equality. Mark Ludwig, our good buddy out there, will also be speaking.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Jesse West and Stephen Westerfield from Illinois Fathers and ILFFE will also be speaking. So it should be a very good event. So if you can make it to Springfield, Illinois, I believe in November the 5th at 7 p.m., please do. I believe there's a $10 suggested donation at the door. I think that's just to defray the cost of the actual ballroom. So nothing more, nothing less there. So let's roll right into the birthdays real quick. Today we've got Belinda Holland, Jim Keys, Lisa Chastain, Frank Smith, Patricia Mee Thompson, our good friend out there.
Yeah.
And Edmund Welch celebrating birthdays today. Yes.
Disgusted Dad's Edmund Welch. We love him on this show.
Yes. Tomorrow, Kevin Farrell, Amy Grabber, Colin Pennard, Amy Roberts, Christy Walls, Chris Valdez, John Falcon, Andrew Verico, who we've had on the program as well, Johnny Panko. So good buddy out there, Johnny Panko. Happy birthday to him. Ben Roush, Jacob Romano, Jenny Flamini out there. So Friday, that takes us into Jay Arsenal, Jay Brown, Natalie Sims, Laura Beth Powers, Crystal Sugars, Jeremy Broderick, Hildy Straightiff, I'm sorry. Saturday, we've got Kyle Moss out there, Adam Michaels, and Britton Mosley. And, yeah, Kyle is a friend out there, but he's not related at all that I know of. But happy birthday to him on Saturday as well. Sunday, Walter Smith, Marty Oakley, Pete Hughes, Jeff Harris, Cassandra Roth. And Monday, Keith Martin, R.J. Linders, Nicholas Herring out there, also celebrating birthday. Stephanie Meltzer, John Euler, Amber Davidson, Megan Hampton, and Jay Jr. Moores. Jay Jr. is also the husband of our good buddy out there in Australia, Carla Lee. So celebrating a birthday on Monday, Jay Jr. Moores. So happy birthday to all of you from the Far From Normal radio show.
Wow, Jay Moss, take a breath, my brother. People don't realize, yes, take a drink, take a breath, exhale a little bit. Amazing job. That list keeps growing and growing and growing. And awesome job once again, Jay. Happy birthday to everybody out there. You're not getting another year older. You're getting another year more experienced. So enjoy it.
Looks like Jesse had a little chuckle there. So
this is great. And folks out there, please don't mind because we'll probably get lost because sometimes we all talk and we have a good time. So we might forget we're live on the air, but I doubt it. We have that much fun either way.
Absolutely. And so without further ado, we're going to go ahead and bring on our first guest, as long as my mixer board here allows me to. We'll go ahead and try and bring him on. It does the same little thing every week, guys. For some odd reason, because we are so jam-packed and because we're getting so much out there and frequency, sometimes the board messes up a little bit, but that's fine. We're
out there.
Make do.
We're out there. Yes.
Yes, absolutely. So without further ado, our first guest here, Chris Hallett. Chris, how are you doing this evening?
Not bad, Jay. How are you guys doing tonight?
Doing pretty good. Doing pretty good.
Doing good. And as I said before the show, and I say a lot, I affectionately refer to Mr. Hallett as Brother Hallett. Welcome on the 26th of September. This is exciting. Awesome. Thank you for coming on, Brother Hallett.
Hey, thanks for having me on. I appreciate the opportunity.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Chris is that rare blend of humor, brains, and everything else. So this should be good.
Yes, absolutely. And Chris has done so much out there when it comes to the movement, when it's talking about filing paperwork and everything that goes on with that. And I think that obviously you would love to explain the negative nexus first off, because that's sometimes convoluted as to what that negative nexus means and where it goes from normal everyday language that people use to things that are obviously useful when you're filing your paperwork. So if you can kind of explain the negative nexus a little bit, and I think we'll go from there.
Okay. It's actually because of the work that I did before I got sucked into this, like everybody else, everybody had a life before this, including me. A lot of my life dealt with math, equations, algorithms, and so on and so forth. So that's kind of just the way my brain works. And as a result of that, I said, okay, well, how am I going to explain this in terms that are pretty rudimentary, that people can understand and can be replicated over and over and over again with ease? So I kind of ran home to Mama, and the negative nexus was born. People say that, two wrongs don't make a right. Well, algebraically speaking, that's actually inaccurate. So,
yeah.
Yeah, it's true. So when you think...
Yeah, it is. It is, and this is the sort of thing that makes Chris's brain wonderful. And I keep it going, Chris. I exactly get where you're going with this, and I agree. Go ahead.
Well, when you think about how equations work and how mathematical constants work versus variables. So, for example, we're in a family court, and we have one piece of evidence that's used in a negative light against either a mom or a dad, okay? That's the first negative, okay? The first negative one, it's already happened. It's in the past. It's a mathematical constant. The second figure is where it gets a little tricky, because the actor, the value of 1, is also a mathematical constant. The variable is the conduct, which is the second negative. So when we walk in, this is where calculus comes in and how you prove a negative. So what you do by factoring out that second negative only, it changes the context of the equation from -1 times 1. Well, that's going to equal a positive or a -1. Well, when you can make the judge see that there are repetitive negatives over and over and over again, then that's basically, and without running into your whole soapbox, and this is really complicated because this is where it gets complicated. This piece of evidence generates one section of the soapbox. The next piece of evidence will generate the next section of the soapbox, and that's where people get lost, okay? It's a never-ending circle of circles, for lack of a better expression. Well, what the judges are missing, because the practice, the actor, okay, that's a monopoly. That's a 1. That's a constant, right?
Right.
As it stands right now, there is only one entity practicing in the court, and that's the bar. So the thing to do was to say, okay, well, how do we demonstrate this? And this was where E-Clause was born. That's actually the name of my practice. And the state of Florida actually has me listed as an attorney because they didn't know what else to call me. So
yeah, you have to be
I'm
careful
sure they
there.
have a few, yeah, I'm sure they have a few other names. Yeah, exactly. Be careful.
No, that's Ohio. That's the asterisk, the @ sign, the you know.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Chris, you're in Florida?
Yes, I'm in Florida now. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Whereabouts in Florida?
Right on the spine, right in Ocala, right on the Route 75 corridor, like northern central Florida. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I would love to get together.
Oh, you're down here too?
Yes,
Yeah, Jesse is down there in Florida, actually. Yep.
Well, man, we got to hit some tiki huts together. What are we doing?
Well, yeah. With Jay and I will be there at some point soon, and now that the hurricane is gone, before the next one comes sweeping in. Yeah.
Well, how I figure it, Chris, is once I get my case all settled and everything else, once my daughter, who's 8 years old now, will graduate from high school, I will be right there with you. Except for I'll probably be sleeping on the beach. I'll be one of those beach bums, so it'll be fine.
That's okay. I'll be on the next cot beside you guys with my little drink with a little umbrella on it.
Exactly. So, Chris, if I can ask a little backstory. When did this when did this all start for you? I know some of your story, but I know some people out there don't. What is it that really got your fire lit with this? And I know, obviously, you don't want to get into the whole entire thing, but what is it?
Yeah, I won't bore everybody with a soapbox. It suffices to say that this is actually my second rodeo. My oldest son, who's now almost 30 and has a daughter of his own, he and I, we consequently don't know each other. We have spent time together. I mean, we're acquainted. I mean, but how else do you say that?
Right.
And when I thought about it, and it's like, well, there's really not much I can do about that. So I think Dr. Childers would say I've already bled out with respect to that.
Right.
That said, I said, okay, well, I've already seen this movie. I know how this movie ends. Well, now that I've been through it, okay, I can't change it, but can't change the past, but what I can do is I can change the future.
Exactly.
And I said, okay.
Exactly.
I sat down and I started to, a couple of years ago, I sat down and I started to build this practice, for lack of a better expression. I mean, I've built business plans before, but this one was unique in that it was something that's never been done before. So unlike a franchise where you've got all that laid out for you, I'm literally doing this on my own, and I have very strict guidelines I can and things I can't do.
Right.
Now, anybody who's held a fiduciary license knows that client privilege, much is the same way with traditional practice of law and doctors and, like that, there's a confidence in there, right? In other words, you can't disclose anything that your client doesn't want you to disclose. And, of course, having plenty of experience with this, it's like an old hat. I just never expected to have to retask that license to do this job. And because of the fact that Congress came out with this Title 42 supplement, okay, which is where my practice is limited, and we kind of made this agreement, I won't practice outside of the Title 42 supplement unless authorized by the court. So that was when the first case in Texas was born. And part of my argument with the monopoly was, hey, wait a minute. You're telling me that it takes 10 years to go through the court and, with all of this convoluted, ridiculous process, and the Constitution says otherwise. So, there is such a thing when you're saying, speedy trial, that also implies speedy due process. So they're
Exactly.
like, yeah, never going to happen. So then after Texas case was filed, 2 weeks later, judge comes out and terminates that prosecution. So I said, okay, well, there's the speedy due process I was talking about. And this judge and this, these people had nothing to do with my argument. This was just me practicing the same way I told you I would. And they said, okay, you've shown us a criminal defense. Now show us a criminal prosecution.
Okay.
Same argument. A lot more in detail. But whereas the defense was on behalf of a dad, the prosecution is on behalf of a mom and her son. And, of course, her daughter. So right now, that case stands in recess as of the 12th of the month. And when we left, the judge had already started asking arraignment-type questions. Okay, because we walked in under the 12B hearing, right?
Right.
By the time it was over, she was asking arraignment questions.
Wow.
And that's exactly where we were dying for her to go. So that said, in reading my report, excuse me, I've drawn the line that this practice has constructed itself as a monopoly to literally force people to pay for their own demise in these equity courts. And I've said, okay, when you go back to our history, what we left in Britain, which was British Parliament, right? These are the same exact practices and suffrages we left 230 years ago. What the hell are you doing? And
that's exactly the same, because when you're talking about that, when you're talking about in the negative nexus, you're definitely talking about emoluments. Can you give a definition on what an emolument means so that everybody out there can
and that's where I'm
understand that?
Right. Now, if you look at paragraph 6, that's actually page 3 of the report. I actually, upon all the reading and the research and everything cited within this report, was able to draw the line between unjust enrichments, okay, in any context, what Black's law calls the fruits of a crime, okay, and the Constitution refers to those things as emoluments, right? In other words, pay for play, right? So, for example, we'll use my case, for example, because I can talk about it. Judge Rentala wrote this special project judge's divorce that, as basically what it is every time she fills in this action, for lack of a better expression, and it's an action without cause, she gets $40,000 from the state of Ohio to do this. And she says that this money is supposed to be used to pay for the lawyers and the court costs. But here's the problem with that. In my case, which is pretty much a mirror image of the Utah case, there was no evidence of any crime. None whatsoever. They manufactured it. So in accordance with the negative nexus, I was able to walk in and say, hey, wait a minute, I have a qualification. You guys don't. So you just sit there and shut up and you listen to this while Dad talks about how this is going to work. And the court said, you know what, you're right. You're absolutely right. So when we drew the line between unjust enrichments, fruits of a crime, and emoluments, this $40,000 that she gets every single time she builds a case with that mark in it, that's a violation of the emoluments clause of the Constitution on its face.
Exactly, because I had somebody asking as far as what the crime was between the dad and the mom. Necessarily, I don't believe it's the fact of there's a crime between the dad and the mom. There's a crime between the courts doing what is right and what is just and not. That's the crime that we're really talking about here. Because when we're talking about emoluments, let's explain this in average lay terms.
Okay.
Let's say you've got a dad and you've got a mom. The mom has been granted the custody, let's just say, for instance, in this one. So basically what we're saying is that whenever the dad pays child support, that child support is then, it gets matched by the state, or excuse me, by federal, under the Social Security Act, Title 4D, and then that money goes and pays an incentive that goes through the Bar Association and down to the judge. So the judge is getting incentivized to make the decision that they're making. So that's what we're talking about here. Is we're talking about that's a complete conflict of interest. That's an emolument payment to the judge saying, hey, we want you to decide in this case between the mom and the dad. We don't want you to get 50-50 because if you give 50-50, no one collects child support. Therefore, there is no federal incentive. There is no incentive process behind you doing what you're doing. In order to get the emolument, you have to decide custody for one parent, not both parents. Or you have to decide child support. Right.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you for clarifying that for the novice out there who don't understand. I think that just probably helped tighten all that up. Jesse.
Yeah.
Being out there in Florida, and I gotta say, I love this. I'm just gawking at everybody here, and I love the guests here. Chris is awesome. But I want to hear, Jesse, what's your opinion on all this? I love hearing Jessie because when she gets on a roll, there's no stopping her.
Yeah.
I know she has opinions.
I'm a little irritated. So I was actually doing some Googling today because that's what I do. And I actually came across the fiscal budget, the federal fiscal budget for the state to fund Department of Revenue, Title 4D funding. And I actually came across where Florida for the last 3 years has received $30 million in federal funding to the Department of Revenue, Child Support Enforcement for the establishment of access to time sharing and parenting plans. So basically what I'm saying to you is every year for the last 3 years, the state has received $10 million per year to establish parenting plans. I've yet to hear of any father that has had a parenting plan established by the Department of Revenue. And I've actually challenged Pinellas County in Florida, Senator Jeff Brandes, to audit the Department of Revenue and find out where this $30 million has gone. So the state of Florida is currently making, off of every dollar they collect child support, they're collecting $1, or the state is making $1.66. The Department of Revenue Child Support Enforcement Program is a system that is designed for the legal trafficking of our children. Talk about human trafficking. This is the biggest and most incentivized system that traffics our children each and every day, and they make a business out of it, and they're disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
this is true.
Jesse's fired up, and I love it. Exactly.
Yep,
Jesse,
absolutely.
if you couldn't tell out there, if you didn't know Jessie, she does not mince words. She has her only issue is she doesn't know how to mince words, and I don't think that's an issue. Jay.
Yes.
Follow up, Jessie here. What's your opinions on that? And yes, I know you've discussed this at length.
Yeah, and I'm trying to discuss this because I'm trying to make it clear now. If you have 50-50 custody, there is opportunities where they say, okay, no child support. I'm not going to say that that's not the case because that does happen, but more or less they're really trying to get a child support incentive. That's the real incentive here is to get that rolling.
Absolutely.
And if they don't, then understand they don't put, I won't say they won't put food on their table because obviously they do. We're talking about a judge that makes $100,000 a year here on an average basis.
They won't put that extra caviar on the table. Well, they'll do that too, but
see,
you're talking about they're literally selling time.
Yeah,
which is in essence exactly what they're doing.
That's exactly what it is.
And what they want to do, basically, these civil court judges, they want to send Bobby, Tommy, and little Jennifer off to Oxford, Harvard, and Yale so that they can become powerful attorneys and judges as well, because they know there's the money.
Exactly, Jay.
Absolutely.
That's why they call him Money Moss, because he hits those points on the money, and he's always on his game. This is yes, Jesse used the term disgusting. That's really all I can think of. And how much more blatant and brazen and egregious does it have to be before people stand up and say, "Wait, this is disgusting," and something has to be done. And that's, I believe, people like Chris Hallett, Brother Hallett, Jesse J, people like that out there are doing that. I mean, we got to start somewhere. You've got to be the change you wish to see in this world, right, guys?
Absolutely.
Amen to that, brother. Amen to that.
Yeah, and
nobody's
Chris,
going to do it for you.
Exactly.
And yes, you've got to do it yourself.
You've been majorly successful in your own case. Is that correct?
Oh yeah. As a matter of fact, in fact, and since we filed the initial Texas case, I haven't gotten a bill from child support from anywhere. Seriously.
Nice.
They said, you know what?
He just disappeared. Like, we'll just pretend.
They looked at my job description, saw attorney, and said, "Oh shit."
It reminds me of. It reminds me of. I call it the ostrich syndrome, where somebody screws up like a child and they stick their head in the sand and pretend like the problem's not there and hope it goes away. Guess what? We ain't going away. I promise.
Yeah.
Put your head up out of there, because I'm still standing here.
There you go, brother.
Yeah, and Chris, I mean, I don't think that you're an impossible guy to find, are you? I mean,
no,
you do exist, right?
Right, yeah. Ted and I have actually met in person. We met at McDonald's when he was on his way back up north.
Well, I'm loving it. I didn't know you and Ted had met. That's cool. It's a small world, especially when you're in this. We all the sad thing is it's not hard to meet brothers and sisters in this movement, because it's more rare not to have an issue with a family court in this country than it is, So yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, Ted is, we've met in New Hampshire a couple of times. Ted's an awesome guy, and I've met our next guest who's coming on after. She's from New Hampshire. We'll get into that after. So yeah,
absolutely.
Small world. It's all about networking. Making connections.
That's right. Absolutely. So now, in your own case, Chris, obviously you've won a major suit. Is that correct? And they just have decided not to pay you. Is that correct?
Well, it's not at this point in time. It's not so much about deciding who won and lost as it is about deciding, basically practicing a piece of the Constitution that's never been practiced in 230 years, and what is that impact, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and I get this, I understand this. So they said, okay, you want to make an argument. Show us your argument in context, and we'll listen to it. We'll make an assessment on it, and we'll get back to you. So, in other words, you came out and you've made the initial claim that your license is basically the exact same thing as what a lawyer is. And that's
right.
True. In my big mouth, I did make that assessment. So they said, okay, show us what you got. So I came out with all of the stuff. I literally, like I said, I wrote my own articles of practice. I wrote my own business plan and everything and submitted it to the court. They said, okay, go work. So he said, okay, I'm going to work.
Well, and, it's funny because when you throw them off their game, it always reminds me when you go into, these courts thrive on fear and uneasiness and insecurity and ignorance. And I mean, as Jesse mentioned last week, ignorance is in not knowing, not being stupid. Doesn't mean being stupid, but not knowing. And when you go on there with with no fear and educated and confident, they don't like that. Throws a monkey wrench in all the works. I see everybody buckles up. The air sucks right out of the courtroom when I walk in, but I don't even need to speak anymore. So that's good.
I hear you. I'll tell you right now, it's just like you can hear an ant fart when I hit the courtroom. I can tell you.
That's right, a liver, a lip.
He's talking to you, woman. Nice, Jay, nice. Hey, you gotta say what that is. Play it again. Say it again.
Oh yeah, that's Mason Man again.
That was some of the band.
That's right, a liver lip.
He's talking to you, woman. that was Mason's response to Jay. It was something Jay said, "You talking to me? You talking to me?" And Mason said, "I'm talking to you, liver lips."
Yeah.
My boy, my boy.
Oh, God. And that's the courts that that we're dealing with. Obviously, we've got these. We've got the ALJs, and let me explain this thing, because obviously you got to break it down. Okay, you've got an ALJ. What an ALJ is an administrative law judge. Now, these judges have limited jurisdiction. They can only rule in certain matters that have to do with the administrative process. But what they're doing, because there is no oversight, is they're overstepping their jurisdictional bounds. And they're going off of, and they're even including, okay, we're hearsay in certain situations. Were you or were you not domestically abused? Were you not? And here's where it comes into play, okay? Suddenly, a woman who's going through divorce is a slut. She's a druggie. She obviously now is, she's got mental problems or mental issues. The guy in the case, he must have been cheating on her. He was a druggie or something as well. Now, this didn't just happen overnight, guys. And obviously they're walking. You two are walking into court, and you're going to hear some things out of these people that you've never heard in your life and never thought would ever come out of their mouth. So that's where it comes into play, is they're allowing this hearsay to be part of the case when that's not what the court was for. This court was set up, and it's let's explain this. This administrative law court was set up just like if you had a business that was going to split. You had two business partners. They were partnering together. They want to split the business. One wants to buy one out. That's what it was set up for, was so that there was an amicable split. And instead, what's happening is one is being called every name under the sun, and the other guy's just sitting there like, what the heck just happened? I have no clue. Right.
Yeah. And that's where the negative nexus comes from.
Exactly.
Well, if you think about it, Jay, there's no money for lawyers in amicable settling. There's no vexatious litigation. There's no, $100,000  10-year divorce cases with $1,000 a month in temporary child support and $2,000 a month in alimony. You take the money out of the system when you teach people how to settle and how to work for the best interest of the child. And that's the problem. We are going to work in Florida. We're going to work to cap attorney fees, to cap alimony. We're revamping the entire system next year when our new governor comes in, because it's an outdated system that's designed. And how, I advocate for dads. I know there are moms out there alienated too, but dads are more than just a wallet and a paycheck.
Mm-hmm. That's right, Jesse. It reminds me of the medical industry. It's the same thing, right? There's no money in a cure. The money's in the treatment. Same sort of theory. The money isn't dragging on. They don't. And then we wonder, we complain that we've lost the ability to know how to communicate in this world. Well, the family courts do not make it conducive to be able to communicate with your ex-spouse or whatever and work things out. It's not for the best interest of the child or in the best interest of the child. It's in the best interest of someone's pocketbook. That's the problem, and that's what we have to change.
Yeah,
right. Absolutely.
This goes back to basically what I said in my opening line of my report. Mm-hmm. Basically, it does not matter what the law intends if no one is practicing the law as it was written intended, or even worse, intentionally misrepresenting the law based on the agenda of the ones who stand to benefit from it. And I cite the conflict of interest, which is the lawyers are attempting social control, if you've read any of their rhetoric, in any of their continuing ed. It's all filled with social control crap, which is all based on prisons and like that. Well, the court's job is to ensure domestic tranquility. That's its job. That's its function, right? And I've been able to cite the difference and cite that conflict of interest through, through all of my, basically through all of my work, and even through not just, law school journals, but work from other judges. We talk about, case law and case precedent, but over and above that, when the judicial branch comes out and says, like take Gorsuch during his Senate confirmation hearings, they were blasting him left and right about ineffectiveness of counsel. And he looked right at him in the face, and he cited a journal from 1973 that was written and says clearly, ineffectiveness of counsel is cause to overturn. Period. End of discussion. And at that moment, because the guy who was questioning was a Democrat senator, so when he came out with that, they were doing everything they could to try to blast the guy and keep him off the court. And I mean, let's face it, my challenge has been in Congress now for a little over a year, so I can tell you, I know what the Democrats are up to. I know how government works. I've been working in government in my regular life before this, for most of my adult life. So I know how these departments work. They know my face when I hit the door.
Hopefully it's not your face hitting the door, but that's another story. But
my face. Yeah, they know you're getting blood all over the door. Unfortunately, yeah.
So, Chris, what's your suggestion? Obviously, because we've got so many different points of view, and it's always good to get a different point of view on what's going on. Different expert people who have been through this, who've seen the light of day, and have seen going back into the tunnel, obviously now. What's your suggestion on what we need to do as far as we speak of this great big fourth branch that's not even mentioned in school? And understand there's 4 branches of government. There are not 3. The schools need to stop teaching this 3 branches of government crap and go to the 4th, because the press and we the people are the 4th branch, and honestly, they need to start teaching that. What can we do going forward that will make a difference?
I tell everybody the same thing. Do what you know. Do what you're good at. There is no wrong answer, right? Because every case is different. Every person is different. That's the reason the Constitution was written the way it was written, right? So I just took an old obscure piece of the Constitution and I did what I'm good at. I followed the money trail. Okay? That's what loss prevention is. We follow the money trail. I just didn't know there was going to be about 10,000 people standing behind me as soon as I looked over my shoulder. But that's another topic. But it's anybody who can take what they've learned and what they know and apply it, that experience is invaluable. So, like I said, I mean, if you're just going to sit there and whine and complain about how much your life sucks, well, that's not helping, right? What's helping is taking what you know and applying it and putting together something that the court will understand, that's tangible, that makes sense, something they can wrap their head around, and they can make a definitive ruling on it and say, you know what? It's not about right and wrong. This is totally accurate.
Yeah.
So,
and I agree with you, because that's where you reach empowerment, is when you reach the enlightenment stage that you're educated enough that you can explain how this whole thing fits together and why it's not fitting together right. It's a square peg in a round hole, and why it doesn't work and why it doesn't fit, and that somebody's profiting off of the destruction of these children. And if you can show that to a court, I think that what you're doing literally is you're backing a judge into a corner. You're saying, hey, look, judge, either you're going to break the law and you know that you're going to break the law, or you're going to rule in my favor. One of the two.
Jay,
well, it's like I said, it's even over and above that. Okay,
right.
in these lower courts, that's what you're forced to do. But when you're talking about in the federal court, where you're talking Article 1, Article 3,
right?
Okay, that's a whole different animal. Okay, I can tell you based on experience, those judges, they will listen to you as long as you show them their due respect. You follow the rules of the court, okay, and you speak clearly, you speak concisely, and that's it. That's all they want you to do. If you can do those few things, you'll curry favor with the court. It's not really that hard to do.
Well, I think it's more or less the administrative process, and I think that process really fools a lot of people because we don't know, okay, I've got to file this within so many days. I've got to file that within so many days, and that's where it becomes very confusing to people.
Well, Jay, what they'll do is Jay,
right.
what they
drew
do
the line between administrative process equals parliamentary practices.
Am I not being heard on here?
Exactly. Yeah, so, no, you are, Brett. Yeah, Bud, what's up?
Oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't sure if my audio was gone. No, go ahead.
No, you're good.
Oh, good. What they anticipate, as we've talked about before, they baffle you with bullshit. Excuse my language. They anticipate your insecurity and going in there and completely, it's what you have to do, as Chris has said and Jay has said and everything else, is beat them at their own game. You go in there empowered and educated and call them out on the facts and what is supposed to happen procedurally and everything else. They anticipate you going in there uneducated on things and then just baffling you and burying you and laughing at you laughing. So
exactly.
You got to go. And as Chris said too, he hears a lot. Life sucks. I've never met anyone that had that sort of attitude and their life got better. You got to start somewhere. Yeah, does life suck sometimes? The days suck. Yeah, they do. But you got to move forward. I mean, what are you going to do? Cry about it? Because I tell you what. Yeah. That's not going to garner you any respect from anybody, least of all your children.
No, it's not. So, yeah, definitely empowerment, and it gets through education. Educating yourself makes you more empowered. Knowledge is power. That's the key, obviously, and Jesse, what do you think about all this? Because, you coming from a different opinion on the outside in supporting Tim, your husband there, and then also, your own battles. So obviously you've got a different perspective than a lot of people do, and it's going to be a more unique perspective. Yeah.
I think my perspective on the whole system is I see the injustice. I see the pure and blatant violation of our constitutional right to be a parent, to not have the state impeding upon that right, not inviting them into our lives. And most of all, I have seen corruption at its fullest possible potential that it ever could be. Chris, I don't know if you're familiar with Polk County, but I had a guy out there when I first started in this movement and fighting for Florida fathers and equality. I met a guy named Ronnie Davis. He did the Bears Law and Forensics team, and he had spread such a wealth of knowledge to so many people, and the system was so intimidated by him. They actually fabricated a case against him and arrested him. So to that, I mean, I was just disgusted by the entire thing. I've followed the whole case. But Florida is so corrupt that they're willing to go to whatever means possible to continue to suppress parental rights, to keep that money generated, to keep that incentive attached to our children, to keep the fatherlessness in our state in order to maintain a state of poverty, to maintain control. And it's time to break that silence. It's time that mothers stop because predominantly it is mothers. I apologize for those moms out there that are wrong, but predominantly it's fathers that are wrong. And it's time for these women to gain some self-sufficiency, share children, and retaliate against the system that's really not there to help them. It's really...
Well, Jesse, you brought up a really good point, because I think a lot of these mothers, you know, they think they're, quote-unquote, winning this game. You know, oh, you're just a pawn in the system. These people are laughing at you that you think you're actually winning. And any of you are, what do you know, you're even more of a patsy, because you don't even know what's going on. You're sitting there at home going, yeah, and these people are going, wow, if I just keep this woman or man fat and stupid, we're just going to keep lining those pockets.
That's it. They just feed the monster, man. All they did, they shove food stamps down their throat, health care, welfare, you know. What does it take to keep mom happy? Let's keep mom happy and keep her pissing dad off, so he'll or vice versa. So he'll keep shoveling money into the system.
Yeah,
and that's the goal.
Yeah, I don't get upset anymore.
Of, you know, how to encourage mothers to take a look at how the system is using them. You think about your Medicaid. You think about the Medicaid you're receiving for you moms, and your children. You think about the first time you don't comply with Department of Revenue, Child Support Enforcement, extortion system. What do? They sanction you by giving you a warning. The second time, the next thing they're going to do is sanction you by taking your Medicaid. Then they're going to take your stamps. Then they're going to take the TANF benefits you receive for you. They're never going to take from the children, but they're always going to take from the mother. And that's about the system maintaining power and control. So it's time that women practice what they preach in their feminist movement and gain some, you know, independence and become independent of the system and stand up against the very system that's designed to oppress them.
Right. And we say women, but obviously, you know, there are some men doing the same thing. We've got that. Yeah. And honestly, Chris, you're probably pretty familiar with this case. Blessings versus Freestone. Blessings versus Freestone is where the government screwed themselves. Let me explain this case. They accentuated the argument of child support. And then the federal incentive process, and we talked about Title IV. Well, understand that not only does a portion of that go to the judge in the Bar Association, but also a very large portion of that money goes to repay the welfare system.
Yes.
So the welfare system is being paid by your child support. That's ridiculous.
Yes.
Yes.
It is.
And here's what and all these things are all true. Here's the things that a lot of people don't understand when it relates to how court works. When you're talking about bar card members, I don't care who it is, they understand one word: indictment. The only question is, what can I be indicted for? Exactly. Now, if you show them something that they can be clearly indicted for, and you can show this repetitively, now you've literally scared the hell out of them.
Exactly.
And not like, not unlike the guy that Jesse was talking about a little bit ago. I'm anticipating the day, because I know it's coming. I'm going to spend the rest of my life behind bars for the work that I've done with the emoluments clause.
Oh,
because
I'm sure.
I can tell you right now,
they're going to come after you.
I've just wiped out 80% of government doing what I did.
Right.
And, let's call that spade a spade. So I know what's coming. And I would rather it be me than somebody else. Because I look at it this way. Having already come to terms with the fact that nothing that I ever say or do is going to matter with respect to the situation of my case. Okay? I know how that's going to turn out. Seen it before. All right? So that said, I'm not going to beat a dead horse. What I am going to do is I'm going to kick the shit out of those who caused it. And that I can do. Okay.
Proverbially speaking.
That's where I could differentiate it. Okay. I was able to, I pulled myself out of the equation and said, you know what? This is about the work.
Yes.
There's no more. This is the work and the work only. Anything and everything and everybody, their names, their faces, their social security numbers, whatever. This is the work.
Yep.
So,
yeah, and it comes down obviously, it comes down obviously to a love for the children in this movement that, you're doing what you're doing and everybody else is chipping in. And that's why, I've always said, this movement needs to start getting over itself. It needs to start getting over its own concerns, and it needs to start concentrating on these children altogether and become one. And, man, I thank you for what you're doing, because obviously we're running out of time. We'll have to let you go, but thank you so much for coming on. We've had a wonderful time with you, brother.
As have I, guys. I'm glad to do it, and I'm glad to finally have something positive to report after all of this work. So, I'll keep you apprised of where the indictment goes from here. And if it, as soon as it goes indictment, the judge makes the decision, I'll come back on and let you guys know exactly what happened and how all that works.
Absolutely, that would be great,
Brother Hallett. Okay. I appreciate it. This has been a long time coming, and we will definitely have you up for a follow-up. Keep up the fight. Keep up the good work. Never stop. And never stop. We love you, brother. A lot of respect. Much love. Nope, they're gonna have even when I'm gone, I'm still gonna be kicking just like you, brother. Much love.
That's right, man.
All right, man.
Have a good night.
You too.
You too, buddy.
Chris Hallett, awesome stuff in that first hour already. I am so pleased to have had him on because the guy knows a whole lot. Obviously, some of the things they come off in a certain way that people don't really understand, and sometimes it's like, okay, well, this is just law and it's this wrong thing. But trust me, this is exciting. Mm-hmm.
Well, and who he reminds me of too is Kirk Pendergrass, because in the sense that they're both law junkies, and I love it because I see people like that where they get excited, and other people are like, what's so exciting? But it is, and it's people like that get excited about it that draw change in that way. We all have our little, as we've talked about for 33 shows now, 32 before this. Yeah. Everybody has their place and their skills and their talents. So it's great to have. It's great to have just a warrior like Chris Hallett out there, and people like him, and Kurt Pendergrass, who had his Law Corner show last night, and great things happening in this movement. People empowering each other and empowering themselves. And I love seeing it. Chris is one of them. Thanks for coming on again, brother.
Absolutely. Awesome first hour. And so we're going to go ahead and take a break right now. So if you are listening on Facebook Live, understand that we're going to go to a song. Because of copyright infringements, we won't be able to play that as a song on the air, but we will be back on in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. So understand. And if you are listening online or you are listening on the phone, we will be playing When You Love Someone by James T.W.
Maybe if I turned on my mic, you guys could hear what I'm saying. Okay. Got to make sure I keep that down so we don't get any copyright things. So yeah, I'm still playing around with the video, obviously. There's some, some work that can be done, of course, but if you watched some of my early shows when it was the Million Parent March Live, it was very, lots of trial and error. So each one of them would have to set up their own green screen and all of that, their own lighting, in order to capture it correctly, because they're not all going to drive to Wilder, Vermont, and sit in my living room and sit next to me behind the green screen. So we're getting through that. And yeah, I met Chris once. He's a great guy. Every time I feel like we are treading water and not going anywhere, I give Chris a call, and he always makes me feel better because he's constantly working on this. And then Jesse brought up Polk County. That is one in Florida. Polk County is known as one of the most corrupt counties. Cops planting evidence, all kinds of stuff like that. Grady Judd is a well-known sheriff in the area. He's always on TV doing controversial stuff. What else about Polk County? I mean, my case is close to there, but yeah, I forget sometimes who is in Florida and who is not, and I haven't known Jessie for very long, so I didn't mention to her that Chris is right nearby. I think she lives just north of Tampa, and where Chris lives is about an hour north of Tampa, so they're probably only 45 minutes away from each other, so that's cool. Chris is a great guy, definitely knowledgeable, like Bud said, similar to Kirk. A law junkie. You know, they both have a ton of knowledge that some of it you can't even wrap your head around. So it's nice to hear their voice and keep hearing them on shows, and it helps all of us get a better understanding. All right, it's over.
not with you. I think it's overall. People can't. So that's okay. This is also being recorded.
I just fixed it. I just fixed it. So I apologize. They didn't hear the last couple of minutes. So everybody.
Okay.
Sorry.
Well, that's. We will do this again, Ted.
All right.
Ted threw us off, but Ted knows Diane too. And if people didn't hear the introduction, I am going to say again, we have Diane Lyons on the phone with us, and I've known Diane for a while now. She was going to be on a television show that I did a while back, and I've been dying to get her on the air. She's one of the strongest women I know, and she's going to tell a little bit of a little story tonight. I've given this woman a hug. I know her heart more than one, and now here we are. Was that a good redo? As good as I could, as well as I could do it. Thank you.
Oh yeah.
And and see, now that just threw everybody off in a good way. Diane, welcome on this 26th. We'll do this one more time.
Thank you so much, Bud, and hi Jay, and hi Jesse. Hi. And like I said, my 22-year-old son, who has been my rock and my strength, is listening tonight. He knows that it's really difficult for me to go public with my story, and this is a big step for me after 6-7 years of the abuse in the New Hampshire family court. So I love you, Jake, and thank you for never giving up on your mom.
Yes, absolutely.
Diane, I see those pictures. Let me tell you something, guys. The strength in Diane, I'm so honored to have her on because we talk about empowerment all the time, guys. We talk about self-love. We talk about self-discovery and overcoming your fears. And let me tell you something. This was a gigantic step for Diane. And I told her last night, she was nervous. I'm going to be very candid here. She was nervous. She said, but I said, don't worry, I'll cradle you like a baby, just like I say to Jay at the beginning. I said, but I said, I'm honored because I said, I'll tell you what, Diane, I guarantee it. You're going to go, I know you're going to have a blast. I mean, there's no question about that. We know that. And I said, within 6 months, you're going to have a show called The Lion's Den that's going to blow away far from normal. Absolutely. I can't wait. I can't wait. And this is just awesome. I love it. I love her passion. You can feel it. We give a shout out to Jake out there. Your mom is amazing. I wish she was mine. But she is my friend forever.
Thank you. You guys are awesome. So, yeah, I have the same story pretty much as everyone else does, going through the gates of hell of family court in New Hampshire. Very naive, not understanding anything that I was going to be hit with. And I can't tell you the horrors of family court. Well, you know about them, but the fraud, the extortion, the child kidnapping, the persecution, the revictimization, how you end up with complex PTSD, how you end up completely in despair without your children. And I can only speak from my own heart and my own pain as a mother. But let me tell you, there is nothing worse than having your children ripped apart and ripped from your life and having no way, no control, no way out. Completely destroyed. Not being able to breathe, not wanting to live. I mean, it's that bad. And I hear people's stories every day for 7 years now. It's the most horrific thing facing our country. And when I was at
I agree wholeheartedly. Go ahead, Diane.
Yeah. When I was at the Million Parent March last week, I had the opportunity to visit many senators and many congressmen and let them know what was going on, outside of the state of New Hampshire. So I think that a lot of good things happened during that march. We met with whistleblower attorneys, met with some investigative journalists. Like, our time there was well spent to advocate for the movement. So I'm really proud of the progress.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to pull the positives from it. I mean, I saw a lot of wonderful things. I'm not even getting into the negatives because they don't matter. It doesn't help us. It's irrelevant. irrespective of the negatives, like I said, I saw a lot of positives. I mean, and Diane's smile was one of them. When I say that, her empowered smile, she did do a lot of work. People like Mark Ludwig, Diane Lyons, people out there, I call them heavy hitters, meaning people that get out there. Diane is just someone who is overcoming her fears, and I'll tell you what, I'm just trying to help empower her, because once she's fully comes to that level of self-actualization where she's unstoppable, I don't want to get in her way. I'm not stupid. I'm getting up close to her now so I don't get run over in the future.
Yeah, you've got me nailed, bud. Yes. Passion for this movement and a passion to right the wrongs. My purpose in this movement isn't to share my personal story, because I don't want to be responsible for any listeners having heart attacks during this nice radio show. So my focus is on judicial accountability and actually judicial prosecution. I want these judges prosecuted and indicted for the felony crimes that they commit every single day in every family court across our nation. And you know what, Bud Vina? I'm done with them. I have found my voice. They're no longer going to silence me, and I'm going full force ahead. I've had 6-7 years of them silencing me and living in fear. And it's
That's right. That's right. That's my girl. I love to hear it.
I'm no longer the victim. They better watch out, because many of us are coming, and we're getting stronger and united. And we don't care. We have nothing to lose.
Well, that's the thing. You can't strip someone and take everything, including trying to take their soul away, and think they're not going to come and keep coming. Now, it's great because as you were saying that, I heard you speaking, Diane, and people out there, you can see how strong this woman is. She said beforehand, before the show, we usually go on and quickly, so I'm not sure who Diane Lyons is. I said, oh, you will. And because you guys have a kinship, too, in the sense you're both bulldogs, and I say that very affectionately. You're both very, don't take no for an answer. When things are wrong, they're wrong. When they're right, they're right. And if they're wrong, you don't care. So you guys will get to know each other better.
We are done. We are absolutely
all done.
We are coming to get our children. You are going to repay us for everything you fraudulently extorted from us. You are going to repay us for every bit of pain that you have done. And that's it.
Diane, my heart truly goes out to you. I'll be the first to admit it. I always say for fathers, but mothers, on the other hand, they have a whole different demon that they battle with, because they are deemed the supreme one. They are deemed to be, the paramount parent. So when that's taken from you and you still have the ability to fight, that's something that I commend you on, and I encourage you. I can hear the passion in your voice, and I can hear the sincerity, and the truth is, we do have to come together. We have all of these groups and organizations out here, and a lot of them are led by women, and a lot of them could come together, and we could be a true force to be reckoned with.
Without question.
Yeah, if the leadership was there, because we could be the next civil rights movement if we could come together in the correct fashion. And you're right. The courts, the way that they are just destroying families in ways that they have no business even intruding on is wrong. It's really wrong.
The degree of evil and hatred is something that you just cannot ever wrap your head around or comprehend. And I know, I want to tell you, Jesse, I may appear strong after 7 years into this, but everyone who knows me knows that I had to be picked up off the ground, that every day I battled whether to take my own life or not, because you took my life. That's what they did. They took my life. And to crawl back out of that darkness has been unbelievably challenging and very difficult.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that is the case, Diane. And obviously, you know, you've become empowered in this, and you can help, obviously, a lot of these young ladies who have been through this, and they're in this. And I like to start calling this a community more than I like to be calling it a movement at this point, because obviously there's a way to come together, and that way to come together is to become a community rather than just a movement. A community, obviously, at certain times people lead, and at certain times they follow. They don't have to be the leader all the time, and that's the great thing about it, is because you can't kill an idea. You might be able to put a bullet through Jay Moss's head today, but tomorrow Diane Lyons is stepping up behind me. So what are you going to do? You don't have that many bullets. Sorry.
Exactly. You know? Well, you fight fire with fire too. Yeah, and you fight fire with fire too. Like I said, you know, people. You know, it's like a lot of people. I was talking to a buddy of mine this weekend, and we both said the same thing. I said, I'm the nicest guy in the world, but if you try and minimize me just because you feel emasculated, I'll make you every single bit of that little boy that stepdaddy picked on the couch when you were 10. Trust me. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter if you're. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're homeless or you wear a shiny robe. Either way, it's all about respect. I'm going to be respectful. If not, I'm going to do a crossword puzzle while you're talking in the courtroom. I'll let my lawyer do the work, and I'll just think about what I'm going to have for dinner that night. Again, it's about respect. You want to, if people want to step up and do the right thing, cool. Other than that, I have no fear in it. As Diane said, I've already died. This is all overtime for me. This is all extra credit. This is all bonus. So as far as, you know, my case is wrapped up just about. I've got that all solidified no matter what. And so now I have more time to focus on these corrupt pieces of garbage out there that are sucking the blood off innocent parents out there that only want their children in their lives. Enough is enough, like Diane said. It's like the sun coming up in the morning. You might not like it, but it's going to happen. We're coming.
Right. We're coming.
Exactly.
And the scarring of the children, they're forever damaged. And most of us, the ones that have been wronged, are protective parents. So in my situation, I have 2 children that were left with a very dangerous, abusive man. And I have cried out, as Bud knows, to every authority in New Hampshire, on the state level, the AG, I've met with the FBI numerous times. They're very involved in my case. The police, the United States Attorney General, the Secretary of State, I could go on and on, filed Judicial Conduct Committee complaints, appealed, spent $70,000 in my New Hampshire Supreme Court appeal, thinking that I would receive justice at the next level. Certainly they would see the violations in law in my case. And guess what? They're out on their yacht with the other judges in the lower court. And I lost that case, and when my entire life and every bit of hope that I had to protect my children was gone. And it was then that I got to Google, you know, family court corruption. You know, like all of us start, we're isolated, we're alone. And then all of a sudden you realize, oh my God, I'm one of 100 million that this has happened to.
Yeah, and then you start to understand, Diane. You start to understand when you walk into the family court, and you've got the 2 attorneys, one on each side, and then they go in the back, and we're going to go meet with a judge, and we'll be right out in a few minutes, and then the next thing you know, they might as well just start playing because all it is a circus.
It is. Well, no, it reminds me. It reminds me, Jim, that it reminds me of that Seinfeld episode where, you know, Jerry and Elaine are saying, you know, the woman's. It's people that pretend like they're actually doing something. They're saying, "Hey, look at them standing over there. Let's have a conversation. Pretend like we're actually doing something." So they think that they're actually, you know, we're actually doing our jobs. And then after we're gonna go all have dinner on their dime. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, give me a break. Yeah. I love the circus.
It's like watching. It's like watching a professional wrestling match. We all know.
Well,
it's all staged.
It's all staged. And it's all about
lawyer bashing. And all this lawyer bashing, I do have to give a shout out to the one true person who will go above and beyond. She doesn't care about what she looks like to the judge. She doesn't care about what her colleagues think. She doesn't care about Melissa Isaac. It is a diehard, parental equality. She will go to the end of the end. She does not care what the judges say. She will stand for what's right. She will not be silenced, and she is a true advocate for parental equality.
Yeah, we've got a few of those out there that are pretty good.
Yeah, and I gotta say real quick, real quickly, Melissa
saw the Casualty War movie put out by Yaya in Washington when I was in D.C., and that's where she was actually in the movie and interviewed.
She's amazing. And I got to quickly, real quickly, Diane, I got to quickly give a shout-out. Since we were giving shout-outs to attorneys, I got to, Jesse reminded me, I got to give out a shout-out to my attorney, Steve, who, again, all this attorney back. He's amazing. I love your brother. She said some family issues, man. Right here in my heart for life. I love you, Steve. He's the man. Distinguished, and he's actually all heart, which is amazingly rare. I don't know exactly where he came from or what planet, but I love you, Steve, in this together, and he believes in doing the right thing, and he does it. He's amazing. He's a gift from whatever you want to believe, God or whatever he is. Thank you, brother. I can't wait to talk to you tomorrow. Yeah, I'll be talking to him tomorrow, and it's great. He's been out of state, so it's going to be good.
Yeah, and Diane, obviously, we've got these courts that are not meeting the standard of judicial accountability.
Right.
What is it, that you feel that we can do? Because obviously, we're literally between a complete rock and a hard place on this particular issue. And quite frankly, what is it that we're going to do that is going to make a difference? Because do we, and I've heard this, and this is a rumor still as of this point, but it's being organized, that we are trying to get 5,000 cases out there on the same day filed within the federal court.
And that's
how do we go about this?
That's exactly what needs to happen, is to let them know in force that we are all filing federal suits, because the whole system is about money. Like I've said to the FBI and the U.S. Attorney, it's a racketeer. It's a RICO action. It's a mafia organization.
Without question.
Okay. Yeah. So they're all covering up for it, but it's coming down little by little, and there's many things happening, and people are starting to win their cases. And every day I get on Facebook, and there's another person that has not consented. When you walk into that family court, you consent to basically a banker. It's a banker.
Well, what you consent to, Diane, is what they call your acquiescence or your silence gives them jurisdiction. Right. Mm-hmm.
And there are no constitutional rights. I mean, I got laughed out of court when I wanted to bring up my human and constitutional rights. They laughed at me. So in my case, as I said to Bud, I was a money bag coming into that courtroom because they knew that I was a vested federal employee for 35 years. I had no history of unemployment. My ex had about 10 unemployments. I had a high salary, and they were going to destroy my life. And as a federal employee, not only does the state of New Hampshire get my child support and everything else, but the state of Massachusetts does too. So it's a win-win for both states, because as a federal employee, if I'm employed in the state of Massachusetts, they get matched on federal incentives under Title IV just as much as New Hampshire does.
Right. So you got double dipping.
Right. In my naivety, if I only knew then what I know now, I would have killed this case. But I didn't know. It takes years and years and years and years to understand and to start educating yourself in the real law and what your rights are.
Exactly.
Well, it reminded me.
Still, I'm overwhelmed.
It reminded me, Diane.
Absolutely impossible.
It reminded me, Diane, when you said, you wish you could go back if you knew then. Hey, in the quote of Maya Angelou, I've said it before, right? The late great. When you did then what you knew how to do. When you knew better, you did better. We know better now. And also another famous Tony Soprano quote when someone says, "Why does so and so act like they're not caring?" Tony says, "You ever think they're not acting?" So you've got to see that too when people, because I know a lot of times in Diana, we've all gone there going, wait a minute, what is the judge not seeing? What is it? No, you got to wrap your head around the fact they are seeing it. They don't care. They're trying to shake you down and break you and make you crazy. So you're doing exactly what you do, freaking out, getting mad, getting sad. No. You get even. And how you get even is educating yourself, empowering yourself and going in there and giving them no wiggle room to get out of what is there in terms of law and everything else. So, and Diane's doing that. You can hear, I can already hear the shift in Diane, the more empowered. She's getting more comfortable. Lion's Den, Diane. Lion's Den.
Yep.
I can hear it. I can already feel it, baby.
Yep.
Step in.
Jesse, what do you think about this? All of this?
New Hampshire, certainly.
So I always say, and I don't know, go with what it is, but I always say, don't get it twisted. I am constantly meeting with our politicians, whether it's senators, governors, congressmen. I don't care if I set a meeting with them or if I can intrude upon a meeting that I know they're having or if I can go to a delegation meeting, I do. And I actually brought this very issue up to Congressman Gus Bilirakis and explain Title 40 funding and how the state incentivizes the child support recoupment and the fatherlessness in our nation. He gave me such a bewildered, confused look, and I looked at him and I said, do you not understand what I'm saying to you? Do you not hear what I'm saying to you? And as he's giving me this confused look, I could hear the thoughts in his I could hear the racing thoughts. And our politicians, they don't want us to be vocal about what's going on. They don't want us to educate others about what's going on. And we are compelled as individuals and as helpers in this community and in this bringing of change and this restoration of our civil rights to spread education, to advocate, to educate, to make it so somebody doesn't have to go 6 years and $120,000 in attorney fees learning what I've learned. We need to spread it like the plague. And as we spread, we recruit, and then we bring change because that's what we need. And when we become an organized community to move towards one change and one voice, then we'll be there. And we'll show our politicians that, hey, we're not taking it anymore. We're not just going to listen to I don't get it. Because I don't get it isn't going to fly anymore.
Well, Jesse, the thing is, it's very simple. And this is what infuriates me. It's a very simple thing. The federal government gives federal incentives. I want to know every case and every matching dollar, and I filed 91A's Freedom of Information Act, and you wouldn't believe the responses that I get.
Oh, yes, I will.
Every fund,
and the response I got was, I don't have that information.
Well, that's exactly what I got, except for pages of declined, dismissed, I can't give you this information. Every federal incentive, in order to receive Title 4D or 4D incentives, you have to have a designated bank called an SDU. Every state has a special SDU bank that they deposit all the incentives into. So, and then they take that pot and spread it between the lawyers and the judges and the corrupt attorneys. That's exactly what they do. I have
And
asked
that's
for an
after they
accountant.
collect interest for that money sitting in that pot. You know that, right? That the state is
Mhm.
collecting interest off that money.
So
Yeah.
I ask everyone, find the incentive money. Where is it? Because I want to know. I want to know
Mhm.
every person that you have raised.
It's in Greenwich, Connecticut. It's a lot of it's in Greenwich, Connecticut, with some of these judges sitting down there on golf courses. You know, it's just so, you know, it's a giant stroke job. And when you realize that, I said, okay, well, when I realized it was a giant stroke job, I said, okay, well, I'm going to take away the Vaseline now, and if you're going to play that, I'm going to make it burn. So you can try it. Trust me, we'll play that game. No problem.
It's so apparent. It's so apparent what they're doing, and they're getting away with it. Well, that's where we need to say, absolutely not, no more. This
Right.
is organized
And let
crime.
me explain that to the average layperson here, because what she's saying is these funds that are being collected by Title IV, and they're going into these accounts to build interest. What she's saying is they go into an FCA, which is an FCU, which is a federal credit union. And what that basically does is these are FDIC insured. So what basically happens is they start building interest off of every single dollar that's in there. They start building interest off of it. So one judge can live off the interest alone in 1 month.
Jay, I said this to the FBI and the U.S. attorney. I said, you tell me a judge's salary on the book, the judges in my case make $130,000 a year. That's their state of New Hampshire salary. But they're living like billionaires. Explain that to me now. Explain it. Because you are not rich on $130,000 a year.
Corruption. Excuse me.
So,
I'm sorry. Corruption. I'm sorry. Really brazen corruption.
We need the transparency. We need accountability, and we need prosecution. We need to, and that's what we've been screaming out to Trump, to Jeff Sessions. All of us have been saying we want that. They've committed felony crimes. If you or I committed a felony crime, we'd be in federal prison. Well, that's where they need to go. And they need to be raped like they have raped us, period.
I have reported the judge to the FBI. I called the FBI. I kid you not, I did. I filed a report. They didn't even know what to say to me. They had to get an officer back to me. My husband and I, we went down to the local sheriff's office to file perjury charges against the attorney who had clear, blatant perjury. He actually believes us, but somehow this attorney had such a whatever his conversation was that he talked the detective out of prosecuting. And this is the problem, is these lawyers who think they can continue to smooth everybody over with their jargon. And, Diana, you and I and Jay and Bud and the many, many people that are here for equality, that we need to continue to pound the pavement and say, no, we're not going to with it. We're not going to listen to those people anymore, because the judge in my husband's case is making $168,000 a year, while she's illegally disclosing my Social Security number to people who have no business having it.
Right. And the next thing you know, the IRS is connected to it, because for 45 years I never had a difficulty with the IRS, and suddenly family court is connected to the IRS, and the IRS is coming after me.
Yep.
And you just get their tentacles of corruption and hatred and evil spread into every federal agency.
And I'll agree, And Diane, now when you were in Washington, obviously, you tried meeting with Jeff Sessions. I'm not sure if that was accomplished. Now, I've heard several different rumors about a gentleman by the name of Trey Gowdy, who I absolutely admire to the utmost.
Do I.
Yes. So is this meeting with Trey Gowdy going to come about?
No. So the situation with Trey Gowdy is, I did end up in his office However, he was back in his district.
Okay.
Excuse me. I actually had a meltdown in front of the staff, which caused his deputy chief to come out and inquire, like, what is going on here. And the two women that I was with said, this is what happens to a mother who loses her children, and no one will listen. So the deputy chief said she is very concerned. She was informed about everything about Title 4D, everything. And she said, have Diane contact me immediately. I haven't had the opportunity to do that, but I plan on that this week. And Trey Gowdy does know about everything. Because all of and Trey Gowdy has been given evidence of which we will hold him accountable. But he's got to crawl through, all the blocks right now. But he does know what's happening in this country. And I believe that he's going to help us.
Yeah, and quite honestly, I'm really sick of turning on my television and hearing about the Russia gate. And I'm sick of hearing about Clinton's nonsense of she can't get over the fact that she lost the election on her own and has to blame everybody else. Look, the biggest problem in our country right now is the fact that we are being robbed day in and day out of everyone is being robbed of their Social Security, and the parents that are going through this are being robbed of their time with their children that they will never get back.
They never ever. And the pain is unbelievable. And the trauma done to every sibling in that family, every extended family member. I'm telling you, I think together we can do this. It's just uniting. And
absolutely. Diane, I just want to quickly thank you for mentioning the other children involved. The brothers and sisters that miss their brothers and sisters.
Oh, my God.
I think it's sometimes we don't discuss that enough, and that's such, I hate to use the word collateral damage in that, but it really is in terms of what is done, in terms of Mason missing Carter and vice versa. And I talked to Carter last night. It's looking like I'll be seeing him tomorrow. We'll see. I'm waiting for a return phone call, but they did speak last night, and Carter was on cloud 9 about seeing myself and his brother, and just hearing them talk and just being so excited. And that's the stuff you fight for.
Well, I know Jake, my son Jake, is listening, and he has been estranged from his siblings because of family court. And that kid got on the stand and testified for hours and hours. He went and testified before the New Hampshire Senate, before the Judicial Committee, before the Child and Family Law Committee. He has had a voice from what the family courts have done to us. And guess what? It doesn't matter. They all laugh in your face. Well, they're not going to be laughing because, like I say to them, you know about this and you are going to be held accountable.
Exactly.
I just don't know when I'm going to get to doing that. But until the last breath that I take on this earth, God damn it, you are going to be held accountable for these crimes. Crimes against humanity. It's worse than the Holocaust. It's the killing of every single family.
Yeah, it is. And Diane, I want to go over this because obviously, you're very familiar with the process here in the judicial process and things that have gone on within the judicial process. Now, on your paperwork or what you would file in the family court if you were recommending to somebody, would you recommend that people would ask for a dismissal based on lack of jurisdiction, number one, conflict of interest, number two, and to make the order void ab initio, meaning from the beginning? So any child support that you have paid, they owe you back.
Yes, and that's what I have come to learn recently in this whole quo warranto that I plan on filing. And
Awesome.
that's they absolutely have no jurisdiction over our families, over our paychecks, over anything. We've allowed this because we haven't known.
Mm-hmm.
And
Absolutely right.
So I submitted in fear to everything. For years and years. I filed 150 motions, of which every single one was dismissed.
Yeah.
And I was laughed at and ridiculed. Like, how dare you plead for your child? How dare you say you can't afford the child support? And the minute that I spoke up, as my son Jake will never remember, we'll never forget this day, where the judge let me know by exposing her crimes that she was going to cuff me and shackle me and throw me in a jail cell. And then when my son got the $700 bail within 30 minutes, she refused to let me out. And that kid was so traumatized. He's still traumatized to this day. She kept me in that jail cell, shackled, with the shackles digging into my ankles. As a loving, protective mother.
Just based on the fact that you are a mother, they came in, they awarded custody to one side, they told you owe child support, you get behind, and they throw you in a jail cell.
Yeah.
Now, what kind of country are we living in? Is this the United States of America, or is this Vietnam?
No, it is. It's Vietnam.
I don't even think we're as good as Vietnam at this point. I don't even think our family court system can be compared to Vietnam.
Not even Vietnam. Yeah, it's hell.
No, I would say North Korea, Jesse.
Yeah. Rocket Man, right? You know.
But I said, you guys are concerned about the missiles from North Korea. Let me tell you about what's happening in our own country with the domestic terrorism. That's exactly what we need to confront.
Yeah, they don't need to be worried about the rockets from Kim Jong-un. They need to worry about the rockets from this movement, because we've got enough.
Yeah, incoming, baby, incoming. I can hear
incoming. Yeah.
The whistles, baby.
A lot of the things that
and they're much stronger than nuclear.
Damn right.
A lot of the things that individuals don't understand is our right to be a parent is protected under our Constitution. So I'm just going to read this real quick. So Title 18 of our Constitution, Section 4, it says that the Supreme Court has ruled that there is a presumption that a parent acts in the children's best interest, not child protection or your state. So there's a presumption that parents act in the children's interest. There's normally no reason or compelling interest for the state to interject itself into the private realm of the family to further question a parent's ability to make the best decision regarding children. That's Reno Flores. The state may not interfere in child rearing decisions when a parent is available, Troxel Grainville. So over and over again, 3 case laws. If you're acting in your child's best interest, the state has no right, and they know this.
But they know this, Jesse, but I've quoted that exact case law before the judges in New Hampshire, and they laugh at me and say, sit down, case dismissed, denied.
Yeah, that's when you know there's nothing but corruption.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I really think we're making a lot of progress, and I don't think it's baby steps anymore. I think we're taking huge steps. And I know myself, I'm done with crying and isolating and living in fear and living in silence. I am out now. I don't care. You're going to hear me, and you're not going to stop any of us.
And that's when you become empowered,
Right.
I'm right. Love you, Diane. I can't wait. We're going to be seeing a lot more of Diane Lyons in the future, ladies and gentlemen. Believe me.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, what happens is the anger sets in. And I think when you get to the anger stage, that's when, like you talk about, Bud, where you are empowered. It takes a long time to get there. But when you get there, that's when they will back down.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So we want to thank Diane Lyons for coming on this evening. Diane, you were an amazing guest, and I look forward to hearing the Lions Den very soon because I think you should do it. You should go for it. You're empowered now.
She's amazing.
Yeah.
She's amazing.
Yeah,
she's articulate. She's smart. I mean, she's the total package. And you know what the biggest thing is about Diane? She's got the biggest heart. And I can't wait to hug you again, Diane. I love you.
Oh, thanks, bud.
Forever. And you
Friends
keep that chin up.
forever.
And you know 24/7, 365. I don't care if it's Christmas Eve. You call me, and I'll come get you, my dear.
You are amazing. Yep.
Absolutely.
Incredible.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Diane.
You're welcome, Jay and Jesse. It was nice
to
come on the show, and I think I actually can't believe I actually did a radio show. So I'm very proud of myself.
And
you did.
You did amazing. Yes.
Yeah, you didn't just do it. You did it well.
But I owe this all to you because you didn't give me an option to back down.
No.
I said, Bud,
I didn't.
I have to work a double. Bud, I'm going to be too tired, Bud. And he said, yep, call in at 9. You're already on the
We're already waiting for you, my dear.
All right.
Yeah.
So, amazing. Thank you very much. We appreciate you. We love you. We respect you very much.
I love you guys, too.
All right. Diane Lyons, amazing. So we are getting down to our final minutes here. So unfortunately, the last 10 minutes of the broadcast. Blah.
Yeah, Jay and I talked about this. We coined this as the pressing period. The last 10 minutes. I think it was like the second or third show, Jay, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
Months ago. Yeah, it's still best, but it's okay.
So far tonight, amazing show. You got great stuff from Chris Hallett. You got great stuff from Diane Lyons. And so we're going to roll into the shout-outs. Mr. Bud Bino, I'm going to go ahead and give you 2 minutes.
2 minutes? Oh, a long time. Yo. Thank you, Jay. First of all, I want to thank Jesse Weiner and Jay Moss because without them, I'd be nothing. And we're everything together, and we rolled together. The sky's the limit together. Shout out to Ted Fogg. Does all our technical stuff. He does a lot more work than people even come close to seeing. Hello, Ted. Yeah. Brenda Johnson, Pete McNeil, everybody out there working so hard, and all the parents out there who might be listening to this and down and out. It's not over till you say it's over. And I also want to give a shout out, as usual, to my beautiful wife, who is always by my side and never behind me, always by my side. So also, I want to give a shout out to a couple people I met yesterday. Gianna from Philly and Brian with a Y from Lowell, Mass. And the opportunity to speak to those two people yesterday, and it was wonderful. And also, I want to give a shout out to my friend Kevin Moran and his wife Kathy and their beautiful children, and Kevin's parents Dennis and Kathy. Beautiful people. Hadn't seen them in years and years and years. Had a wonderful time on Lake Winnipesaukee this past weekend with Kevin and his family. It was wonderful. Thank you, brother. Known him for decades. It's all about loyalty, love, respect, and honor, brother. We talk about that always, ride or die. Shout out to my little asbestos Mason, to my biggest, bestest Carter. Hopefully, Daddy will see you tomorrow. I love you, pal, and everybody out there. Chins up. Again, it ain't over till you say it's over. We ain't done yet, folks. Much love.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Jesse out there. Do I have Jesse on? Or did she somehow drop off? I don't know. Here, let me
I see her mic. There it goes. You should be able to hear her now.
Jesse, you on there?
Nope.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Oh, okay.
There she goes.
She dropped off for a second, but we got her back on. Awesome.
Sorry. Biggest shout out to you guys for inviting me on this show and welcoming me to be a part of this. This has been a tremendous change for me, and definitely a big growth and stepping outside of my box. So thank you for that. I give a big shout out to the moms today, the moms that are alienated. Like Diane and like Suze Ramus, who's alienated. My friend Jennifer Spivey, who's alienated. you guys face a much different system than the dads out there because you are seen as supreme. So I commend you on continuing this and being there and continuing to just persevere and getting angry and at the system and then fighting. Thank you, Ted, for everything you do, even though I don't want to be on the camera. Yes. And then thank you to all our dads out there. Every single dad that contacts me through the Florida Fathers' Rights Movement, the Fathers' Rights Movement, Florida Women for Equal Parenting, thank you, because you guys are the ones that keep me doing what I do, along with my husband and my greatest fan, Wyatt. So thank you.
Awesome stuff. Okay, so I'm going to roll into a few things here real quick. I want to thank our tremendous staff out there at the Far From Normal radio show, Brenda Johnson and Peter McNeil, and, of course, Ted Fogg. Amazing stuff that he's doing on the stuff out here, the video. We wouldn't be where we're at getting the 3.5K viewers without Ted and what he's doing out there. So thank you very much, Ted. And I want to say, yes, 3.7. 3.7.
Yes. You're a little behind the times there, Jim, but that's okay.
So,
it's okay. Well,
so that means that, and that was a call-in show.
Yeah,
that was a call-in show, people.
Yeah, that was 4,000 on our call-in show, so that's good.
So maybe that means we're going to hit 5K on this show.
Let's do it.
Hey, let's do it. Awesome. So amazing stuff, because we were able to do this with the help of Ted Fogg. Awesome guy out there. Thank you very much. We appreciate you. And I've just been in contact with some amazing people this week. And if you have not been out to my Facebook site, please do so. There's a story out there of a gal named Stephanie Latier. Unfortunately, she was driving her car and paying attention to her cell phone, had a very, very huge accident. It's cost her dearly. So please, if you're out there and you are on a cell phone and driving, please don't. Obviously, we want you home in one piece. That's the ultimate importance to us, is that you are safe. And so drive safely out there and be safe. That's the main thing. So also amazing people that I'm meeting constantly. We've talked to several out there. I can go into some of it, but I'll tell you this. The main thing is that I talk to you every day. And that's what I want to give a biggest shout-out to, is the fact that I get to talk to you out here in our community and in our movement. Because you ultimately are important, you are loved, and you are cared about. And this right here is Dancing in the Sky by Danny and Lizzie.
Chins up, folks.
Does it look like in heaven? Is it peaceful? Is it free like they say? Does the sun shine bright?
All right, I just turned off the music because of the copyright issue. Thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you next Tuesday.